Hey guys, Andy again, spoken label. My friend here, Zoe Mitchell. I hope we don't get any more atmospheric. So I've just heard a load of fireworks go off at my way. Have you got any fireworks up your way, Zoe, before we start?
No, not that I
Yeah,
can hear yet.
I've just heard about.
Wait till I start reading and then I'll
They
probably
go boom,
start.
boom, boom. Yeah, I know. I've just heard it. Then I thought, oh heck. Anyhow, listen, let's spot that. More about you, Zoe. Over to you, my friend.
Thank you. Okay, so the first poem I'm going to read is from my first collection. So we discussed a little bit about hag, so I thought I would read that one. And as I said, this is kind of about loving the fact that you're getting older, even though you're not supposed to love it. Hag. Wicked or wise, at my root is nothing but joy, but no one wants you to know that. There's no profit in me. I could only beg for the things I meant to want, but no one can make me want them. I feel so old, and not from the sorrow on my shoulders. It is the silence behind. Strange new gods are being born, and not from the mess I make or the strange scents that emanate from my quarters. Through the smoke and my eyes smeared windows, I see everything and mutter as I pull who knows what from my hair, smiling my crooked smile. I am kept at a distance to stop my song reaching your ears. Wake up from your dream and run. The future may be crouched, waiting to eat out your heart, but it must catch you first. Okay, so now moving on to my current collection, Untold Fortunes. This is a poem that was inspired by English folklore and a character called Jenny Greenteeth, who has various names. If you go across the UK, she has various names. She's a river witch, kind of a cautionary tale for making sure children don't fall into the water. But I took the legend of that and gave it a kind of personal spin. Jenny Greenteeth. In a certain light, anyone can see it. The sickly green of her skin, the film of algae behind her eyes, the sour olive of her breath, the leaves of flaked skin at her elbows. The dull silver of her shadow can stalk you, and like her, it knows children never listen, that the elderly and frail will always fall. I must warn you to keep her at arm's length. She'll push you in the water, laugh while you're drowning, torture you for hours if she feels like it, finish you off with her sharp jade teeth in a single bite. She scratches, pierces, drowns, and devours. She cackles and dances, then she basks in the water, her hair splayed, a violent neon frame for her nauseating pea face. And she's sated for a while. This woman, this razor-toothed, grudge-infected river hag who was only ever meant to be a soggy cautionary tale, she is my sister. I used to live with her by an emerald riverbed, churning with the possibility of falling into the water and landing on malachite rocks, slick with moss and her brackish malice. My only hope is to sever myself from her. I swim in blue pools with safe straight lines and chlorinated water, watching for pond scum and gathering plankton in the corners. Okay, so this next one is more classical mythology. This is the myth of Medusa, but it is Medusa's origin story, which is less told than the whole snakes in the hair turning people to stone business. This is how she became a Gorgon, because she started as a human. And I also chose to read this poem because it has a very strange distinction in my collection of work, that it was selected for a lunar codex, which was sent to the moon. So this poem has gone to the moon, which is amazing. This is called Origin Story. There was a young woman, beautiful in the way they all are, almost interchangeable with their gentle, painfully human concerns. She thought about potential suitors, her next meal, different ways to untangle a knot in silken hair. Before, she hadn't even thought about the future, but she held faith in its benevolence within her soft skin. After, she testified that people watched as she fled from a brawny, gill-necked deity. She remembers uproarious laughter. She can't recall what she was wearing. It's not etched with enough depth for her, but lawyers will scratch that fact with acid. The crime is not enough for the court. She will be burned by the lines of her dress and flowing hair, as if they matter more than a sanctuary defiled. Or a woman. Athena witnessed the rape at her altar and had rage enough to topple a whole council of gods, but no power to tackle this one who held the pull of the tides and took whatever he wanted. No one spoke of that when the verdict was given, or how they expected a mortal to do what a goddess couldn't. The hand over young Medusa's mouth wasn't shame. It was the venomous snake of a story that turns people to stone. This next one is about a lady from history called Helena Blavatsky, and she was a medium who had an amazing life and seemed to me quite magical and almost Houdini-like in the way that she escaped the shackles of society and just managed to do whatever she wanted. And whether she was actually a medium or not, she certainly pulled off a few magic tricks. So this is Madame Blavatsky, Queen of Cuffs. Behold, we have before us something unremarkable, a baby girl, not worth educated, born into corsets and codes of conduct. Now look at our great Madame, who took that punch in the stomach and never flinched. The blows kept on coming, a dour look, 2 bulging eyes, an excess of chins, but she stayed on her nimble feet. Next came the gold ring that manacled her to a man more than twice her age. She tore through those bonds as if they were paper, unlocked the door to a library, and found so many other worlds in those books. Some you can reach by crossing an ocean if you dare, but others lie back in the unfathomable past or beyond a veil. Not content to dream, our Madame woke up and went in search of new gods from the east who blessed her freedom. Watch her now, waving her hands as she speaks of spirits. Light fractures through the rubies and garnets on her rings. Has she travelled to occult lands, conversed with otherwise mute apparitions? Ladies and gents, we must try to unravel the conundrum. Does she have power beyond the mortal realm? This much we know. Here was a most unpromising woman, stout and untidy, and she cast her azure eyes across continents, lived with lovers, smoked cigarettes and hash with abandon, wrote books as if no one had ever tried to cinch her in. Perhaps she had dubious morality, but she gave comfort to soldiers when they needed it most, cured mothers and beloveds sick with horror at otherwise irreparable loss. We can't say it was all hokum when she unwound every rope that tried to bind her, held her breath in the water tank of whispered gossip and flat accusation, escaped every time someone strapped her in a straitjacket. And the last poem I'm going to read is the final poem of the collection, and this is about the Bell Witch, which is a legend in America, and it was the inspiration for the Blair Witch, for the Blair Witch Project movie, and it comes from a historical story of a woman who was accused of being a witch, and then that story evolved. So the original story happened in a village. You can now go to that village, and she now lives in a cave. So it's kind of about how the witch legend evolves and how it becomes what we need it to become, even if that's then a tourist attraction. This is The Bell Witch Makes a Friend of Darkness. I was born among the petty jealousies of a village overrun by feckless men, spurned women, and bored children. I became the implicit threat of darkness, the creeping dread in an unlit hallway, the absence of any other explanation. I got out when I could, moved on to the fertile landscape of ghost stories in search of something like rebirth. No devil came and bid me serve. People did that. I was followed here. They cast me in a pit. I clawed my way out. Now I take flight in the night sky, rest in the dimmest half-hidden corners, and patiently wait in a sullen cave. I can slip between shifting clouds, tramp crisp autumn leaves underfoot, take form in a beam of moonlight. These days and nights I haunt as I please, and this misty existence leaves me free, because I was never here. Thank you.
Brilliant stuff. Brilliant stuff. What's really good about some of your poems there is I'm just going to talk about the Medusa one there, origin story, particularly. I thought all your pieces are good because, like, you've looked at like myths about like Medusa and stuff. I think in a way that's very rarely done actually. And I've certainly read bits and pieces about her. They reckon she did actually exist, don't they, in some way
Mm.
or another. Obviously, she didn't necessarily have snakes coming out of her head and turning men to
Yeah.
stone, but. Yeah, but as I said,
Mm.
did you find when you were doing your researches and people like that, like, did you find you were getting surprised by some of the research you were pulling up in bits and pieces?
Yes, because like in a lot of cases, it's trying to find something sympathetic to write about, and I didn't always find something sympathetic. So some of the people I wrote about in the book, like Belle Gunness, was a serial killer. So like, there's no way I could really relate to that. So I had to go a different way on that one. But with Medusa, like, she's kind of almost a cartoon villain. Because she's just terrifying in every way. So you have to dig down into the story to find something that you can connect to, or you make her into a big cartoon villain, which is also fun. But yeah, that's, you just have to keep reading. Some of it is just Wikipedia rabbit holes. And then you find the books you need to read and the work you need to look at. But that's sometimes how it's done.
Yeah, I think it's a great point what you said there. You do is like when things get as old as that, is like I've seen like anything from a couple hundred years ago, it gets buried, done it under like rubbish spaces sometimes, and you'll have to really dig to get what is more interesting to write about. So no, no, fair play to you there. Great stuff indeed. So.
Yeah.
Good set that. Really enjoyed that, Zoe. Thank you for that today. Been really, really good stuff indeed. So keep in touch whenever your next book's ready. Hopefully this millennium. So
Yes, well, hopefully we'll keep in touch before it takes me another
yeah,
5 years to
yeah.
write a book.
I'll be around. I'll be around. I'll tell you that now, right? So, but keep in touch, okay? So, thank you again today, Zoe. It's been an absolute pleasure. I want to thank
Yeah.
Dean again straight away, and yeah, get Kate to give me a shout. I'll love to have her on, right? I'll get.
I will.
Thank you again. Okay,
Okay,
I
thank
will
you.
talk. I'll talk to you a bit more off mic, so quickly before we go, Zoe, as well. But yes, that's it for today, folks. Thanks again to the wonderful Zoe Mitchell. Okay, one thing Zoe doesn't know about me is I do love American wrestling, AEW, because they've got a manager on there, and he's got a great saying, actually, Zoe. I use it to wrap up his podcast every time, and his saying is, stay safe and stay over. And we will see you all next time.